morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dreams Unveiled. Today, my co-host is Brooke, and you may remember Brooke DeMott, which I'll have her picture up on Facebook now, welcoming her. So it'll be fun.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, it is. And now this time, she's not sharing her dream, but if she has any, we all know we want her to come back.
Did you say?
Well,
Boy, it's early.
I know it.
So we're middle.
Yes, so we hope you catch our show that airs at 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. And we're getting really good at being on time and having that made public on YouTube. We're learning a whole lot about YouTube. Just want to say also, if you have a dream and you want to share it, send me an email, dreams@daunw.com. So it's dreams@daunw.com, because my mom did not want me to have anything monogrammed, apparently, and decided to give me a spelling of my name that was going to be an issue for all of my life. Right from kindergarten, where people are like telling my mom, your daughter's spelling her name wrong.
I'll tell you. They're just so committed to traumatizing us.
I'm telling you. That's why we're getting good dreams.
Yeah.
That really is why we're getting good dreams, though.
Really got to hold on to that trauma.
I know. Yeah. Hey.
Good content. So
not only does trauma help with good content, but it also can be healed through dreaming.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That would be great. So
it is. Yeah.
Let's get to it then. Let's do some healing.
All right. So I don't have a dream to read today. I have a dream to just recite. It's actually a very simple dream. Mm-hmm. And it's really a very interesting dream. We're going to be dealing with a reoccurring dream. And on this particular dream, she's not having it anymore. But I think the dream really uncovered a whole lot of things for her.
Right.
You know, it's amazing when you do send me, you as in the audience, send me an email with a dream to do. Make sure you give me a whole lot of background on what you're dealing with at the time. And in this case, in a reoccurring dream, may be things from much earlier. But don't worry, if I have questions, I'll be getting a hold of you if you send me a dream. Just like I did Regina here, who is the person that gave me this one. So the dream's very simple. She started having the dream about, I think she figured around 10 or 15 years ago. And the dream was very simple. She started out on a railroad train, or a train in a boxcar. And then next thing, she's in a park, in a room, and the room was soundproof.
Is she still in the boxcar?
No.
Okay.
No, yeah, that has its own.
That's transposed.
And there's never a transition between the train and being in this park.
Okay.
Which makes a lot of sense now, but we'll save that. Just remind me that we have to talk about that.
Okay.
So she's now in this like padded room, the soundproof room, with about 10 or 15 of her really greatest friends. And Regina really...
Are they in the room with her?
They are.
Okay.
They're all in the room with her. And she has, really described her friendships. I'm going to tell you, it's very clear when she and I were talking, are extremely important to her.
Okay.
Really important. I mean, she is really making sure she is clearly the glue that binds the relationship. She is clearly the one that's pursuing the friends. So I really recognize that right away. And what happens is that all the friends leave the room.
Okay.
But the door shuts after they all leave, and she can see them. There's windows. She could see everything going on in this park, and the friends leaving, but she can't get out of the room. She cannot get out, and she's trying.
So is it a glass room, or are there windows?
No, there's windows.
Okay.
And she's looking out these windows, and she is now in this place that she can't leave, and she's yelling to them and trying to get their attention, but they can't hear her because it's a soundproof room, and they're out doing stuff, and so that's really the gist.
So it's not even an outright rejection; it's more just a lack of noticing at all.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit worse.
Yeah, they're just going on
right.
doing their thing, and she is left.
Yeah.
So that's really a big thing. But wait, there's more. Okay, there's so much to this. Is really kind of a simple analysis process.
Okay.
But the dream's very interesting. So what happens then is that she starts recognizing that she doesn't. Everything gets really, really dark, and she's trying. She in her mind now. She's lucid dreaming. I want to make that really clear. She now becomes is very aware that she is in this dream, and she's like, just look around. She's like, in the dark, look around, find something that you recognize. She's telling herself all of these prompts, which are very typical in a lucid dream, and even had a situation where was able to open the window and yell help out of it.
Okay.
But she was actually in her bedroom opening the window and yelling help, and somebody heard her and called her name, Regina, what's going on?
Oh, man, that's embarrassing.
And that actually really woke her up.
Yeah.
She's actually been standing in her room trying to get she's prompting herself to find that connection with the waking state so she can come out of the dream.
Okay.
So that's kind of how the dream ends a lot of times. I think there are other times where it just ends, but she really, this is really a lucid dream for her. So that's all very interesting. Now, she's not having the dream anymore.
Okay. Why is it still relevant to her then?
Well, I think first of all, I think it became more relevant after her and I talked, because she did not even make some of the connections that we made. And, I think that really is it. But it's haunted her. It has haunted her that she's had this dream, and, it started and then it left. And she knows it's really important to understand. She actually has this understanding, when she felt like voices were telling her, like her voice in her head was telling her, she'd get these words, I'm expendable, right? I'm not important. And I think all of that kind of culminates in, I need to understand this dream. This dream may be the key for me to know what this is all about.
Right.
And I think it was.
So how long has she had these friendships? Are these current friendships?
Interesting. These are technically current friendships, yes. I would say they are. Maybe not all of them, but this is why asking questions is such an important part of this process. Mm-hmm. She's sharing about this dream, and I said to her, I said, this to me seems like, you're holding on so tight to relationships. And it almost seems like it's motivated by fear.
Oh, I would agree for sure. Yeah.
And so that's not, and I think that was surprising to her, because, she shared how much she loves the Lord and how, faithful she is. But the reality is, this is when you're holding on to anything that hard, that tight, there's fear involved. And so what could that fear be? And that was the question I really posed.
I think it's interesting because it also sort of speaks toward an idolatry in a sense. It's like, this is so elevated to you that it dominates your subconscious, your unconscious mind, to the point where this would happen over and over and over again.
Yep.
That sounds like worship to me. So it's like, because idolatry is just misdirected worship, right? So if it's constantly on your mind, I would think that it certainly is an unhealthy codependency on catastrophizing your future. And you remember we talked earlier about manifesting in a sense. Not in I don't think in a whacked out sense of the word where it's just like you sit there and you're like, I'm going to get a Ferrari, and then like it happens. But in a much more realistic, like step-by-step way, that sort of thing, you will engage in behaviors that self-fulfill the prophecy of your worst fear.
No, that's very true.
Right.
And I think that there is a little element about this going on. So I will share with you where our conversation went. The conversation that we had, then, I started really asking her about circumstances and things that may have led her to be evaluating her own self-worth. in these friendships, what was going on. We talked about fear, and we talked about our emotions. And one of the things that I think is really important to understand about emotions are never wrong. And people find that to be a very odd and peculiar statement. You shouldn't be running your life by them, or you're going to have a whole lot of problems. But emotions represent, or reflect is a better word, what we believe, plain and simple.
So this means that they're also never right.
How so?
Well, if emotions can't be wrong, then they can't be right, because there'd be no way to juxtaposition or cast any sort of judgment with an objective standard.
You're okay. That's
right?
Fair. You're right.
Right. So if emotions are nothing but a vehicle toward behavior, then you can certainly regulate them. You're not at, what I'm saying is, you're not at the mercy of your emotions turning to your will before you enact the behavior that is necessary to change the path.
You are at the mercy of your emotions if you give them too much power and don't understand what we're talking about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What I mean, though, is like, you actually aren't. You're putting yourself there.
That's right.
But you can easily take yourself out of it if you have a perspective on it that this is not the way I feel right now is irrelevant to the consequences of my actions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's important to look at this that way. I mean, the thing is that when you have real heightened emotions, your first question should be, what belief are these emotions supporting? And is that a lie or is it truth? That's really how. Think about this. On a dashboard, there are lights. They're indicators, right? If the engine light goes on, it doesn't mean that light caused the engine to go bad.
Right.
It's just an indicator that there is something going on with the engine. If you put black tape over it or spray paint, it doesn't mean that the engine's working.
Right.
So that's those indicator lights.
Bit more, it's a little bit less intrusive on others.
That's right.
But that doesn't mean
when
that
you ride around
the
the engine light on for like hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about that is that really is our emotions. They're indicators.
Yeah.
So I think part of why is this so relevant now, even after all this time, is because really taking a look at the emotions, we learned a whole lot of things. I think Regina learned a lot about herself. So Regina had, first of all, there's two parts to this. There's the historical part, and then there's the more current part.
Okay.
Regina has a core group of friends like most of us.
Okay.
They did a whole lot of things together. They, were friends at their church. They went on trips together. They did all kinds of things. When she started having the pervasive thought about, I'm expendable, and having those thoughts, and then this dream is popping up, she started to really, I feel like, just kind of hold on to these relationships. So what she started doing is sending them messages and texts just to keep them engaged.
Okay.
Hey, how's your day going today? Or I read this and I thought about you. Just things to keep them engaged. What she found out is she was the only one in that group doing that. It's ironic because this was all fear for her. This and that fear and anxiety are the primary feelings and dreams.
It almost sounds like she wasn't even afraid of losing those friendships because of, the merit of the friendship. It's almost like she was afraid to just accept the fact that it already had changed.
Yep.
It's like, this isn't going to change if you this is the actual reality of these friendships. And you have to live in that reality. So it sounds to me like the thing that she was afraid of is maybe that, just accepting the new dynamic.
Well, and I think that is very true in light of the other part of this, which is the more historic part, because I started challenging her. We're back to the emotions. Mm-hmm. I said, emotions, representing your belief means that your emotions may reflect lies that you believe about yourself.
Yeah.
Because it seemed clear to me that she was struggling with her own self-worth, that she was feeling, I'm not worthy, that nobody wants to be around me. Why are people leaving me all the time, right? And so we started to really take a look at that. And I think that was a huge thing, because I don't think she ever looked at herself as having that kind of fear. I think that was a big revelation for her, because she's so steeped in her faith
Okay.
That really recognizing that this was really fear. And
what does that mean? That she was so steeped in her faith that she couldn't recognize it?
Well, I think that, this is somebody who really spent a great deal of time with God and meditating on the Word and being involved with people all the time, and really having, trying to live the life of somebody who took care of people and loved people and really was all about that. So to, think that she had this fear and never even really looked at it that way, I think was a bit of an alarm to her.
Did she feel as though she had put on a persona?
I don't think so, but I think it made her feel vulnerable. I think it was just not, she was looking at it like, yep, I'm more invested in the friends than they are. Very pragmatically. She's looking at this pragmatically. I'm more invested. They, even though it's just drift and normal stuff, because we started talking about, hey, y'all have families, right? You're all doing all this stuff. We're living in a day, or in a time where we're so busy doing non-important things. For most of it, we could probably sift through most of that stuff.
Yeah.
And but our whole life is just watching the clock and doing. Like today, for me, just running around for a lot of that time.
Yeah.
And just so I could get ready to go ride roller coasters. But it's worth it. That's worth it.
You can have it.
I am going to have it. Yeah.
That is not my thing at all.
Cedar Point Amusement Park. They're not giving me anything. This is not a paid endorsement, just Cedar Point. So
I think mine just canceled it out anyway. So, yeah.
So here, I want to throw in something else, because we still haven't talked about the construct, that the room in the park, and we still haven't talked about the train. But here's something very interesting, is that I'm trying to get some idea of why I love that our friendships mean that much to her. You know what?
Yeah.
Our whole lives are about relationship, love and relationships. Our lives are about relationship, and our friendships should mean a great deal to us. So I really have great admiration for that. But I wanted to know, is there any reason why? And she shares with me that this was a military family, and they moved around a lot. Like I believe she said it was 22 times, up until she was 18 years old. Now, yeah, it is. And keep in mind, so what happened is she described her childhood, and she's a very happy person and everything, but she described, her childhood that, she couldn't get on Facebook and keep in touch with her besties. That was not even an option.
Yeah.
So she would be uprooted and moved, and over time, through her childhood, she would just stop making, she just wasn't developing friendships because it became too painful to give them up.
Right.
And so she ended up being a little bit isolating, but I think she's very active with people and everything. I don't think this was like she was super down on herself or anything, but she really got to a place, in high school where she wanted to preserve, before her last move, which I think she was around 17 or 18, she wanted to preserve all of the people, and she wrote down all of the names of the people she was leaving behind. So this is really a significant foundation, which now the dream makes sense. So, we were talking earlier,
right,
about before the podcast.
Yeah, pretty much just about why, if you've seen a pattern of this repeating itself, you understand inherently that all human relationship is destined to be lost to something. Now, you've recognized this at a much earlier age than most of us. So where does the fear come in? Because now this is a fundamental part of maturing in life, is accepting the fact that there are terrible things that will happen that we cannot change. So to focus on it to the point of this level of fear, and to kind of block it out to the point where it needs to be uncovered. Like you can't even access this without effort. So if this is your experience, I would think that, there's a real need to probably ask yourself, why don't I want to just accept the reality that this is the way life is, you know? Like I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you already understand the beginning and the end of all of your relationships, why do you allow it to dominate your experience in the world, where it could be overwhelmingly positive because now you know? You know?
Core beliefs. You know, what it really boils down to is core beliefs. Core beliefs are something in us. They're old beliefs. They've been there for a long time. And trying to get out from under a core belief is like someone telling you, okay, 2 + 2 = 5.
Okay.
And you can't reconcile it. It is in there. It is serious.
Yeah.
So, you know, I remember, you know, I had core beliefs when I was a kid that, you know, I was bullied and teased a lot, and they had a profound impact on me, even as an adult. The things that, even though I knew up here were not true about me, I felt they were true in my heart. I really felt they were. And so here is somebody that, you know, this word expendable is coming up, that even though she knows, you know, in her intellect, that she is a great friend, that she has a great natural support network, she is well loved by many, she knows all of this, you know, in here she feels like that little girl that's up and leaving all her friends, not being a good friend, just taking off over and over and over again, to the point of, you know, it hurts too much, I'm not going to do that.
Is it a fear of being alone, or is it a fear of being forgotten?
I think it's more of I actually think, you know, it's her trying to maintain some level of being significant to these people.
Okay.
So that because she is a good friend to people, and she wants that significance. She's trying to make up for this core belief that she's not really, you know, that she up and leaves people. But probably, so she's upping and leaving people because she's a child. She has to do it, you know, work with the family here. But she's feeling abandoned. So she's the one leaving and feeling abandoned, because how do you reconcile that as a child? That's such a lack of stability, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that all of that core stuff is there. And you know what I think? I think this is something that God does. You know, we are created incredibly. And as a counselor, I can tell you, but you as in all of you, as a counselor, I can say that sometimes we don't pay attention to things going on in our mind. You know, our dreams may be a cue, but when we're not ready to heal, when we're not there, when we're not ready, the stuff can be pushed down and it gets just left there. I always tell people, it's like you have a garbage can, little waste paper basket, and you're crumpling up paper and putting it in there, and then when it gets full, you step on it instead of
emptying it out.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's right.
And you keep doing it. Eventually, this is full.
Yeah.
And so compressed, you turn it over and nothing comes out. And so your brain, like, then, you know, if you're not ready, I mean, that's like repressed. It's like it's in the vault, and then you slowly start pulling pieces out. So I think, you know, she's ready to heal. That's why this has come out. That's why the timing is as such. What's
so funny is that a lot of times healing in these contexts really looks like just not caring as much. It's like, it doesn't sound very spiritual, but it's like, look, you are really told not to worry, and there's a reason for it, because there's just nothing you can do ever. Within reason, you can do things, you can control your actions. Like, I think in this instance, like restraint, right? Don't try so hard. It doesn't really matter, you know, if they reciprocate or not. It actually has no objective value in terms of like interpreting your own worth. Other people's valuing you doesn't have any effect on your actual worth. So if they cease to value you, it shouldn't have any effect on your perception of it either. So what you think you kind of have to do is find a whole new definition of how you can prove to yourself that you are worth being here, right?
Yep. And I think that, for her measure of that was God, but it didn't change the feelings.
Right.
I mean, that's really it. Those feelings are old.
So then did those feelings begin to transfer to her feelings about God?
I don't think so. I actually don't think so. I think she really recognized that. I think she recognized that she was the person that was trying to keep these relationships together. Mm-hmm. And I think what has happened and why, I think what actually happened, why she stopped having the reoccurring dream, is because she realized these friendships were still valuable and valued by everybody that she was dreaming about. This is the cat's going to help us now. Okay. And you are so distracting.
But sort of reframed. Because, before this may have been, and that is a very natural part of life, whether you're moving around or not moving around, people come in and out.
That's right.
Or their level of, actual active participation reduces or increases. Mm-hmm. This feels very normal to me.
It is a normal, natural thing. Unless you were a young child moving around a lot and carrying the residual feelings of abandonment and ending and leaving friendships over and over again.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when we're really young, the memories may not really haunt us, but those feelings are, get carried over.
And then is it that you don't really know where to put those, so you put them onto something somewhat related?
Yeah, you probably attribute them to something else, but you don't even know.
Yeah.
You may not even really know. Like, I don't think she ever put together her younger years as being we're being distracted by a cat. I'm not going to get.
I know it's going to jump on me.
It may jump on you. The cat. That's the cat. Maybe not because you have a notebook. That may be.
That's definitely going to jump on me. I gotta move it out of here. I'm going to have a moment.
We're taking bets.
We're gonna say goodbye.
Bye.
If the cat jumps on me, I might throw it, and I don't want that on camera.
Well, the part, we could have had a wager, and we could have, really brought in revenue for the channel or something. I don't know.
I just feel better about saving your cat's life.
I do too. So they do love being part of the podcast. So
that's really funny.
I don't know.
I used to love animals, and I had all these kids, and then I was like, you know what? I don't have enough love in my heart for both. So we are done, animals. We'll see you in 20 years.
Yep, my animals are out. You'll have them later, much later. So anyway, I think she really never connected that upbringing. I mean, I think she came from a very loving family. I don't think anything was, which actually probably made it even harder to make that connection. Right? It wasn't like she had a bad childhood or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just that this was a key part of her childhood. I think she had a great childhood.
Wow.
So she did not ever make that connection.
It's a pretty important, sort of pathology to examine, though, because it translates into every interaction you have with everybody forever. I know.
But here's the thing, though, is that probably when this dream started happening, and she was already starting to, really, hearing this word expendable and just really kind of internalizing that, because that's what was happening. The dreams started happening, so something probably happened. Either it was time for healing, or it was the awareness of it was necessary. Maybe something happened in one of the friendships. Like, get back to the garbage can analogy. When you start pulling out pieces that have been now compressed in there because you step in the can and push them all down, one of them is going to dislodge a whole bunch.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
And so that's probably what happened. And so that dream started coming. And because it's happened for so many years, she probably never really thought, what's happening in my life at the time. And it may have been an interaction with a friend or feelings at the time that she would have each dream. And so we don't know that, but I'm willing to bet that there was some correlation. So I think that really is it. Now the dream's not happening anymore. And she even, became very aware she's trying to keep in touch with all these friends, this core group of friends, probably like 10 people. And it became really clear to her that these efforts were only hers, because she needed to preserve these.
Okay.
Because they kept her friendships were fleeting because of her childhood, even though they weren't.
I wonder why they didn't feel the same need.
Because they probably didn't have the childhood that she had.
Okay.
So she's trying to preserve these relationships and get, make them, before something happened and that they were no longer there. I mean, she probably had that mentality.
Yeah.
Without even realizing it was related to her younger years. Well, they probably didn't have that, They were all in the same small community, all doing the same things. They may not have been getting together so much, but they were still going on some trips together. And, and so for them, they were as connected as they were to anybody else. I think it's really hard to have friends. I think you have to be, let me say it this way. I think you have to be very intentional to have good relationships with people.
And also, I think you have to sort of recognize that you don't have the same enthusiastic level of chemistry with every person you meet.
Right, that's
You're
true.
not. So, I mean, when you're casting, 10 sounds pretty lofty to me for close friendships, that I enjoy you on a level that will only bring me to slight annoyance and no further.
Well, some of this, Brooke, is your own pathology too. We'll have to work on that another time.
I'm not arguing with you. But what I mean is like, you may enjoy on some level everybody that you meet. I think on some level I do enjoy everybody that I meet, but to actually sustain that to where you're going to say, okay, because a friendship to a lot of people is a commitment.
It is a commitment.
It's a deep commitment.
It should be a commitment.
Right. And so that kind of a commitment, that's hard to make a lot of times and keep. Well,
and I think that this particular group of women, my understanding is they've managed to do it for years. I mean, they really were, but then, like I said, probably kids got older. Like there's normal drift in relationships.
Totally normal, yeah.
So, but she felt that very
it's still
strongly.
Upsetting. Yeah, it's still painful to different degrees, but yeah, it is probably mostly circumstantial.
Yep. And I'm sure. I think that is. And so what happened is that, she actually really is understanding that. So now, meanwhile, she hasn't had the dream for a while, but she had an experience where she was, at an event with some of these friends, and they connected and were just like they've always been. Yeah. And that was really meaningful to her. Yeah. And even to one of the friends where, it was established that, the friend really recognized that she was really kind of fell away, but how much she loved her, and that they, and all of that. And there was this apology and reconciliation. And I think it really closed the chapter on this, because this core beliefs are really hard to get rid of. Right. And a lot of times we're living in spite of them. We're just not letting them have power over us. Sure. So I think, even in my case, I still have these twinges of, I'm this or I'm that. We all do. So I think that, that pretty much ends us on this place of, wow, her just going through the dream, I think really was a great change for her. Really a great change, because it opened her eyes to what this really was. And she is a great friend. I will tell you, by anyone's definition, I think she's an incredible friend to her friends. So I really do appreciate that. Yeah. But I want to backtrack now, since we've pretty much touched on everything. Let's go back, first of all, to the train. To the train. The train. So the train, it starts out where she's riding in a train, and then she's not.
Yeah.
So I think, okay, the train is about forward movement.
Okay.
And it's not a car, just a car with your family in it. It is a train with the implication, I think it's symbolic for in classes of kids, in school, like there's multiple, even though she's not seeing multiple, train is big, a lot of people moving forward. So I think it symbolizes her being disconnected and reconnected through all of those moves in her life. That's what I think that represents. And and which I believe that because all of a sudden she's in this room. That's just this freestanding room. Yeah. Kind of like the stage in yours. What is it?
I thought
Parks
that.
and Fields.
Yeah, there might be something to that. Yeah.
So I think because there was no transition there, well, that would be like a move, right? You're picking up and starting over somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So I think that's...
But what's interesting is that it was a stationary thing as opposed to a moving thing. So like now are you stuck? You have no option now. It's almost like, okay, at least before you could move.
Oh, well, here, let's take this even a little bit further. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm just figuring this out as I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Typically, houses or rooms represent our inner self.
Okay.
So now she is in a room. So think about like the mind of Regina, right? And all of her friends are in the mind of Regina. They're all there. Mm-hmm. They can leave. She can't. And she's watching all this play out. She's with her friends and they're interacting in this room, and then they're ready to now move on. Yeah. With their life, but she's stuck there. And she's stuck there, I think, because she did not really recognize how the past brought her to this present.
Right. I mean, nobody remembering you and nobody turning around indicates, I mean, it seems like it indicates that, you don't think anybody really loves you.
Right.
It's like, okay, if they're not even bothering to look, if you weren't even a thought. So that's a frightening thing that you made so little impression.
And the soundproof part, is a big deal because once they're out of the room, that she has no way to reach them.
Well, what it means is that she is fully at the mercy of their affection.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, because if she could scream and be heard, everyone comes when somebody's screaming.
That's right.
So it's like, yeah, okay, if you're screaming, texting is a form of this, right? And then if you're doing this and you're getting a response, well, of course you will. But if you stop, now you're at the mercy of their integrity in terms of what, at least you believe to be a mutual agreement of what friendship means. Mm-hmm. Now, what I will say, though, is that not everybody has the same view of friendship and what friendship is supposed to look like, right? So, like, I don't have a tremendous amount of close friends. At a time, I'd say I never have more than 2.
Well, 2 and 3 is actually a normal amount.
So the normal amount of friends is a low number. And so, but there have been times, though, where I had one of those couple of friends had a completely different idea of what friendship was supposed to be and ended up being very hurt. Because my idea of friendship is mostly like, we're going to talk, but I'm going to, kind of do what I have to. I have things that I have to take care of. I can't let go. And my level of like connection maybe wasn't matching, and I found the friendship to be a bit suffocating. And this person felt like I didn't even know how to be a friend at all. So it was a very mismatched understanding. What is the expectation here? Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to have that conversation once you've entered into a friendship with someone.
Yes.
Right?
And I don't think we ever consider to have that conversation.
No, like, what does this look like?
It either, if it gets like that, it drifts. Mm-hmm. And now science knows that, when we have attachment theory and all kinds of things that are part of your makeup that determine how you are going to be connecting to people, it's really quite profound. But we don't think it's either we hit it off or we don't. If we hit it off, we keep seeing each other and get closer and closer. And if we don't, we walk away and move on.
I think getting hurt is an important part of the process of learning how to make friends and keep them, or not keep them when it's not a good idea. Like, it's, because if you don't experience that, then you really don't know what your definition of friendship is. Because some people want something that fills a very serious need that, like, for me, my husband fills. I don't need that.
Yep.
Right? So I don't need it, so I don't have it to give because it's already kind of occupied. So it's like, it's not going to be that kind of very, very intimate sort of relationship. And it's not, it wouldn't be because you don't care. It's just because your emotional bank has what it has.
That's right.
It just does,
And we're all different about that.
Yeah.
And so I think, this is, I think for everybody, it's a really great dream about, we've had a lot of dreams on here lately about connections with people.
Yeah.
The one we did last week was about friendship where one of the friends betrayed the dreamer and how that affected.
Actively?
No, it appears, this is my understanding, she perceived that her friend was actively betraying her, but I think it was just a drift.
Okay.
And it's really a perception, but I don't know that for sure because now that I'm doing this with people I don't know, it's a whole different it's a whole different thing here. But I want to say, this was a really, it was, I think my favorite part about this situation and talking to Regina is her really coming to learning new things about herself and this dream really helping her in a healing process.
It's very interesting that you say that because, the plasticity of the brain, I'm not talking about like your soul or anything, but of your mind, your functioning biological mind, it continues all throughout your life.
It does.
It's not you're not as malleable as when you're, like 8 years old, but you continue to be able to do this. And what's very interesting is that what you decide to believe about yourself will change your perception of truth, because your brain is not actually, I'm not talking about your soul again, but your brain is not wired to know the difference between truth and error. So whatever you repeat to yourself over and over again, you're going to think is true. So it's very important that you repeat things to yourself that are beneficial to you.
Yep.
And if they seem true because you do them and they work, something's replicable, if it seems true and it's helpful, it's a good thing to start changing what you tell yourself about how this is going to go.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree with that. Especially the subconscious has no way to know. If I call you derogatory terms, but we're just joking around, the brain, your subconscious can't even tell you're joking, right?
That's interesting.
So, yeah, so we have to be really, our words are very important.
Yeah.
They really are very important. And, our thoughts and beliefs about ourselves really have a lot to do with our formulate our words, and our words help to develop that. We really need to be very thoughtful about being positive and really, holding people in high regard and really having a good understanding of who we are and so forth. In my book, I talked about thoughts, and research shows that if you can meditate for 10 minutes a day on positive things, it literally will change your brain pretty profoundly after about a month or two of consistently doing that.
Interesting.
If you really struggle to think about positive things, if you just say positive words, even if they're not connected in a thought, but just saying things like love, friendship,
right?
That kind of thing has the same effect.
Well, sure.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, language communicates with an individual in a way that nothing else can. Because the thing is like, if I hit you on the arm, I know what that feels like pretty much. Like, I can't say it's exactly the same as if I hit you versus when you hit me, but we both kind of know what that's going to feel like. I could have a conversation with you, and it means something to me. It does not at all mean the same thing to you. And it's really the only experience that we have like that. That and music, which is just another form of language, right?
And dreams. And think about dreams.
Yeah.
because they come from a whole part of the brain. For the most part, our brain, the active parts are taking a break.
Yeah.
They're on vacay for 12 hours or 7 hours, or at least get 7.5 hours sleep, people.
Sure.
But, so we're looking mostly at imagery. Imagery trumps language in dreams.
Sure.
But all of those components are there. We just have to put those puzzles together differently.
Well, that's probably why dreams come in the form of imagery, because words can have confused meaning, but imagery that you generate yourself for your own purposes could be pretty memorable.
I think the big thing in that is that the part of the brain that is responsible for language is resting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
It's all about what's in your memory.
Language is quite confusing.
I know.
It is probably the number one problem. I can have a conversation with my husband in a certain tone of voice that is very, very off-putting, and I can have that same conversation in a different tone of voice that he receives with open arms. And it's just, language can be
it's crazy.
A difficult thing, when it comes to being able to relate peaceably with one another.
So thank you, Brooke. This was really awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun.
We tore this apart, right? I think that's the
point.
It is the point. And I'm so glad, Regina, that this helped you. And after listening to this analysis, you are welcome to get a hold of me. And if you have more questions or thoughts on your dream, and that goes for anybody who submits dreams. So thank you so much, Brooke. I really am so glad we got to hang out.
It was really fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad I put your cat outside.
I know.
I'm sorry if that was bold, but
no, it's okay. You're bold. If you find value in this, like and subscribe. If you don't find value in it, still like and subscribe so that we don't have dreams about people not wanting to have anything to do with us. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.
And have sweet dreams.